Welcome everybody to another episode of Ball Hogs PH. We are back, and it is so good to be back. Aaron Atayde, Jinno Rufino in the Digital 5 studios, all the way back in Las Vegas. Yeah, we got Mo Twister. Are you in LA now?
Hey. Yeah, no, I'm in Vegas. I'm in
Vegas, still in Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Right. Best time of the year. Playoffs are now officially underway, and it has been a great start to it so far. So what we decided to do is that, since we weren't able to give any predictions, we're going to talk about what the biggest storylines are per series. And we start out with the Western Conference, and we begin with number 1 versus number 8, the Golden State Warriors taking on the Portland Trailblazers. So the main story that I saw here, correct me if I'm wrong, is the trash talking in this series. Even before this series began, there was already trash talking where Dame Lillard went to the media and said, "Blazers in 6." Well, then Game 1 happened.
Well, he's not going to say, Warriors.
Yeah. What's he supposed to say?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, I love the fact that he was instead of saying,
Brandon Jennings,
we're gonna play it game by game and see where it goes. No, he really went out there. He's like, we're gonna take it in 6. And then at the end of Game 1, CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard had some very, very unkind words to share about Draymond Green, and Draymond was saying that CJ McCollum was telling him to do calf raises and stuff during the game. I love that this has more color than a 1-8 should and usually does have. What do you guys think?
I think you're looking for a story.
Definitely.
Because this is not going to be a very competitive series. Though, I mean, with the Kevin Durant injury, and I thought the Kevin Durant health status was be the most important thing here. The trash talking, I don't think is that big of a deal. It's actually healthy, kind trash talking. When you say he didn't have kind words, in fact, they explained it. They actually said good things about Draymond, saying that he needs, they need a guy like that. The league needs a guy like Draymond. And he's known Draymond from the past as well. So this kind of trash talking is not a personal thing. It's just, again, something to
that goes on when you play sports.
Light a fire, under you. I mean, we saw the same thing. I know we're going to talk about the Thunder and the Rockets, but same thing with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Aside from the rivalry with the MVP award, they are very good friends, but come playoff time, Westbrook says, "Nuh-uh, I'm not talking to him. He's not my friend this week." And I think that's what we're seeing here with the Blazers and Warriors is the trash talking. It's a healthy kind of trash talking and not really anything too personal or serious.
I like it.
It's fun.
Yeah,
right? It's part of the game, and it adds a little bit of flavor to a series that it's going to be probably 4-1 at the worst case scenario. But I mean, KD's health for me was a bigger thing in the series, more like what you said, because. We all know he was gone for a while. He came back for a couple of games, and now he's going to be missing Game 2.
Yes.
But the thing is, they don't even need KD to win this series. They'll still win 4-1 if they rest him. For this year, but I don't think they will. I think he'll play a couple more games. But I think the biggest concern really for the Warriors is KD's health. If somehow he doesn't. Knock on wood for the Warriors fans out there. If he doesn't make it till the finals, it's gonna be really tough this season for him. And
they need him every game. I don't subscribe to this whole
they don't need him for game 2. They don't need him for
they absolutely do need him, and I'll tell you why. They need to play with him, and they haven't played with him enough. Leading into the playoffs here, you have a very tough series coming up next if the Jazz can pull this off. And if you guys are just going to start playing practice time, get to know each other, gel time against the best defense in the NBA, you are in for a rough ride. So I think they need Kevin Durant. They need him tomorrow. And if they count him out on Game 2, if they've already announced it, I know that he sat out practice today. He's got to be there immediately for Game 3. I know that these injuries, though, tend to linger, and it probably is arised anyway because of the knee injury and compensation and all of that stuff. But, boy, you're going to need to gel with that squad if you have to take on a Utah Jazz team. The Clippers, maybe to a lesser extent, even though they're a higher seed. But, dude, you want to go up against Utah, the best defense in the NBA, and you're just learning to reintroduce Kevin Durant into the offense is just too high of a risk.
No, when I said that they don't need him to win. Of course, they need him in order to advance and for future games and for future series, but not exactly to win against the Blazers.
I think that he needs. I agree with Mo. He needs to be there. They need that gel time, but they as well as in practice, they need some run together. And you saw it in that last game. They were having fun again. Oh, yay, KD's back. But when you go up against like a defense like Utah, there's no wiggle room at all. And they need to go out there and they need to be clicking on every single cylinder if they want to go up against Utah.
My kind of storyline that I wanted to kind of check out here with this series is how Steph's going to perform in the postseason, where we've seen him struggle 2 years in a row. Is he going to have a different kind of flair to him, different kind of dominance that we haven't seen in the past 2 postseasons, even though they did win the title, 2 years ago? I just was kind of intrigued by that. Kevin Durant's injury status, of course, the most important thing, but I just wanted to see if Steph would come out firing early and start a nice little trend for him, that this is going to be a year where he could be great every game, every series. So, he was good in game 1, and let's see if he sustains it.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait and see when game 2 comes around. Obviously, Nurkic's not going to be there for Portland, and Durant not going to be there for Golden State, and see if Golden State will be able to hold, home court. But just quickly, guys, who's going to win it, and by how many?
You mean game 2?
Yeah, no, the series.
4-1.
4-1 for you?
4-1. They don't even need KD to win.
Mo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little biased sometimes with the Warriors. I always love to say the word sweep. I'll go 4-1 just so I don't look like an idiot. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Sweep, but it's going to be okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4-love.
Yeah.
There's just not much there for the Trailblazers to bank on against a powerhouse team like Golden State. They look great. They played great coming into the playoffs. It's just... That's a dangerous combo, man. A great team that's been playing freaking great.
Yes.
It's just too hard for an 8th seed to overcome that. But we're seeing a little bit of that in the East, though. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
I'll say it right now. Golden State with a sweep. I'll be out there. I'll put myself out there and say that. All right, Mo, next series.
Speaking of ass kickings and sweeps, this might be the one that's a lock in terms of any of the other series. Houston Thunder, also another possibility with the Spurs, the 2nd seed Spurs versus the 7th seed Grizzlies. It's funny because on social media you're like, boring. What a boring series between these two types of players. I like the Gasol brothers going at it and all that stuff. But what happened that was really interesting after game 2 was Coach Fizdale's comments referencing the unprofessional style of refereeing going on because they are not a sexy team. They're not a high brand, flashy team. That they're not getting the calls. The differential in free throw attempts between the two squads was really kind of a stark thing. Kawhi took more free throws than the entire team, and Fizdale said, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to stand for it. You're not going to rook us," is what he said. Mm-hmm. I just kind of wanted to ask you guys: do you feel that because the Grizzlies don't have maybe the star power that other teams have, that they are getting shortchanged? Is that a reality come NBA playoff time? That if you're not a big brand, you're not going to get the calls?
Well, I mean, I think it's fairly possible that the Spurs are definitely getting the benefit of the doubt from the referees. I mean, it's the free throw shooting is this shows how much of a difference the calls that the Spurs get. I mean, I find that the Spurs, the Grizzlies are a very interior-oriented team, and for them to not get as many free throws, even near the free throws of the Spurs is kind of telling. But I think what Fizz is really trying to do here is just really trying to find something to work into their favor and be able to use to their advantage, whether it's get a little bit more calls here and there or try and light a fire a little bit under his team. He's trying to figure out what else to do because it doesn't seem like it's working at all against the mighty San Antonio Spurs.
Right, and I mean, there has to be some kind of realistic approach to this, that the Spurs have been such a dominant team these past few years, and they looked fantastic this year. Kawhi Leonard is playing as if he's the best basketball player on the planet already.
Looking like it.
The Grizzlies don't have their best defender in Tony Allen, and the numbers show it. Without Tony Allen there, Kawhi Leonard destroys the Memphis Grizzlies. This might be the last season we see the Grizzlies in the playoffs for a long time. Yeah. There are up-and-coming threats like the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, the Nuggets, all these teams from this year that didn't make it, but boy, they're going to improve come next year. Where are the Grizzlies going to go? They've got an awful contract with Chandler Parsons. They've got an aging team. They don't have enough, I think, there to continue their sustained playoff appearances. But, back to the original question, which was, does a team like this not get favorable calls because of who they are, the style of play they bring to the table, having a rookie coach? I'm not 100% sure that's the case. I know, Jinno, you were saying that it's possible they get the benefit of the call, but listen, the Spurs are a ball movement team, right? Mm-hmm. And with ball movement and with a lot of movement with their players, it gets the other team's defense out of place when they go against a system that efficient and that almost perfect, the way that Pop teaches that system. So when your defense gets out of place, what do?
You foul.
You foul because you know what you're doing. So the differential in free throws are going to be great with the Spurs against a lot of teams. So I'm not 100% sold that, it's because the Spurs, they get the calls. I think the Spurs get the calls because they play a system so efficient and near damn perfection that it just makes the other team kind of go nuts. And then, of course, Kawhi Leonard, I mean, the deadly efficiency, 69 points on 28 shots in this series. Westbrook has 22 points in 23 shots. Like, just to show you how efficient Kawhi has been, and of course he's so elite both ends, you got no chance.
Yeah, that was the one thing.
Or even minimal chance.
That was the one thing that I saw in both games. This is the series that I was looking at it, and you could really see Kawhi becoming the best player in the world. Like, he is undoubtedly. Well, I mean, aside from LeBron, I think he has already reached that point where he is the best two-way player in the league and is now really, really in the running for being the best player in the world. I mean, is there anybody that's even close at this point aside from LeBron for being the best player in the world?
I mean, we'll see come playoff time. I mean, we'll see whether LeBron starts to, again, separate himself as the greatest current player in the world, or if him and Kawhi are now, right there, A1A, 1B. I mean, we'll see with playoff LeBron this season, this postseason. But, yeah, just how much he has improved, Kawhi, in these past few years to where he is right now, where he can create his own shot. He can shoot from any part of the floor. He's still an elite defender. He is so deadly. And with a system that's ran that way, I mean, the Spurs are so dangerous. And I don't really see the Grizzlies taking a game here.
He was shouting as well. He was showing emotion,
which is weird. And that's probably the biggest storyline for me. Like, what? He has some sort of personality.
He was smiling at the end of game number 2. All right.
Yeah, you don't need the refs to help you out when you're that good and you've got a team that great.
You don't. And I think Fizz is. I mean, I think he exaggerated it with the whole date of that statement. But again, I mean, he's really trying to find some sort of way to find somehow to help his team because the Spurs are just too good.
Yeah. All right. So who wins it? And how much? By how many? So San Antonio sweep?
It's possible it's a sweep.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, without Tony Allen to defend Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi Leonard's gonna have a field day there.
I got it. San Antonio sweep also. All right.
Yep.
So there you go. Moving on to our third series right now, the series that everyone had their eye on, like before.
In the West.
Yeah, this was it. This was supposed to be, close games all throughout, triple doubles here and there. Houston and Oklahoma. This is not the series. Well, the first game. The first game.
One game.
It did not really pan out the way that we all thought it would be.
But if you watch the regular season matchups between these two teams, I mean, Houston dominated OKC.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about when you say this was supposed to be close.
But
who the hell said this was going to be close?
That's how the series was being pitched, right? That's how it was being advertised because you have the MVPs, the triple doubles.
Yeah, but it's a team game.
But it's a team game, and if the regular season showed anything between these two teams, Houston is so much better.
Yeah,
so I don't understand. The same thing. I don't understand why people thought that this was really going to be a tight series. I thought that OKC would be lucky to get 2 games against the Rockets. They're just too good,
and that's exactly what we're seeing. This is so much more lopsided. And it goes back to what Mo was saying earlier on in the in some of our past episodes, where no matter what, Houston is just a better team. And when it comes down to it, they're just a great team in terms of their offense.
But also, I mean, it's just one game. I don't think the Thunder could play much worse than how they played.
Really?
Yeah, they were awful. They were. I mean, Russ wasn't great. And there was nobody else. Oladipo was what did he? I know he had double figures.
Yeah,
but it wasn't much. But he had zero help, and if you kind of slow down Russ and he has zero help from his teammates, how are you supposed to win? It's just not possible. And so, but I think
these are the adjustments that you make.
Though.
Yeah, but these are adjustments that are made come playoff time, wherein you go up against a team that has one guy with such a large or high usage rate. You're able to prep a little bit more come playoff time for that style of play. So I think we all know the Thunder are going to get dispatched. How many games is it going to take? Yeah, maybe they get one, maybe they get two, but they're real no threat here. It's just so hard to see a Thunder upset here, even though many of us, of course, rooting for them just because they're so undermanned. But it's this is a lopsided one, and I'm kind of shocked that there were people out there who thought this was going to be a really close series.
The one thing that I will take out of this is that great coaching so far in that adjustment by Coach Mike D'Antoni. It wasn't really that big of a change in terms of his defensive schemes on Russ, but Patrick Beverley was great. Yeah. He was awesome in that game number one, right after being leveled by Steven Adams. Came out, made a couple threes, turned things around, and just like that, Houston ran away with this game.
And it's not like they played great. The Rockets didn't.
No,
play.
They didn't.
They played an average game, and they still smashed the Thunder. So it just shows how big a gap there is between these two teams.
All right, so who call it? Who wins and by how much?
I still think that OKC has 2 games in them. I think they'll win 2, but that's it.
Mo?
Yeah, I'm there. I'll say they win 2 as well. But some of these wins, some of these Rocket wins are going to be blowouts, and then the Thunder wins are going to be like very,
like
kind
2
of
points,
down to the
3
wire,
points.
where Westbrook throws out that one of those 3-pointers to win the game, as he has been these kind of past couple weeks. But yeah, I'll give him 2 just because, gosh.
All right,
I feel bad for the guy.
I say Houston in 6 as well. But okay, side note: how many triple doubles will we see in this series?
None.
0.
Yeah.
0. I say 0.
Maybe
they can't
combined.
Yeah, combined.
I say
for
0.
both of them.
None.
3.
None. I have 0.
Yeah,
I have
it's
one.
a slower game.
I have 1.
But
Yeah, it's
I'll
a
say
different
3.
game in the playoffs.
All right, final series.
The final series. This series for me in the Western Conference was the one I was watching out. I was excited for the most. I thought both teams, the Clippers and the Jazz, really were a lot closer than these other matchups in the Western Conference. And then in the first minute, Rudy Gobert goes down in game number 1, and I thought, that's it. I mean, the Jazz are done. There's just no way they can pull this off. And then they come out and ISO Joe absolutely destroys the Clippers. And to me, that what I at least for me, what I witnessed in game number 1, when the Clippers couldn't close out a team without Rudy Gobert, without their starting center. That says a lot. I know it's just game 1. It's still it's a best of 7, not a best of 5 anymore. But I think because of that, it shows what kind of mentality that the Clippers have come playoff time, and they're just not there. Like, as good as they looked, I guess, entering the playoffs, that they were healthy, they were starting. It looked like, okay, maybe they can make some noise if they get past the Jazz, and maybe they still can. But the fact that they couldn't close out game number 1 despite leading most of the way, and then letting ISO Joe do that to them in the closing moments of that game, tells me a lot that this team could be done after the series.
Yeah,
done
in more ways. Yeah, done in more ways than one.
Not just eliminated from the playoffs, but you won't see a lot of those players back.
Yeah, it was a little surprising, but because it was a close game, we might anticipate a close series, depending on how severe this Gobert injury is. I mean, the Jazz are the top defensive team with him with him on the court. Without him on the floor, they rank 20th in defense or something like that, or opponents' points per possession show. So Gobert is the rock of that, elite defense, and for them to lose a game. I'm talking about the Clippers. To lose a game without Gobert is really kind of a head scratcher. Oh my God, a lot of red flags lining up. But it was a close game, so we might see a close series. Gobert going down is a nightmare for the Jazz, and it's a nightmare for for me as a fan because he is their best player, defensive player of the year candidate, and if he misses an extended period of time and that doesn't get them to advance to the next round, it really would be a shame. not just because of the sexy Warriors, Jazz, best offense versus best defense, but you really had high hopes for the Jazz this season. And, being able to see them go up against a Golden State who we've seen in the past postseason struggle with size, the Jazz are big guys, man. Every single player on the floor has wingspan and height and athleticism, and that would have made it for a great series. So I'm really rooting for the Jazz to win here. It all depends, though, on whether Gobert can come back. I think the Clippers can beat them. But it all rests on Gobert's health here. But you're right, man. If the Clippers get dispatched here, this is it for them.
That's it. It has to be. It has to be. I mean, it would be ridiculous for Ballmer to bring back everyone. Yeah. Including Doc Rivers. I mean, this they have to blow this team up if the Jazz do end up winning the series.
They can't afford it either because of the free agent status of some of the players. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, JJ Redick, all free agents. So you have to pay. Yeah. If you want to keep this crew, you're going to have to really go way over the luxury tax because Paul's going to demand a high salary. Blake's going to demand a high salary. Redick is going to demand a high salary, and he'll get it, whether it be in Los Angeles or someone else. Someone's going to pay him. Yeah. So you cannot lose J.J. Redick, for future seasons. If you do, you're really screwed. But if you keep him, you just get you get the same product, and yet they get another year older. The Clippers are the second oldest team in the NBA. So with this core, this is the best that they've done, which is getting their asses kicked in the playoffs.
But put it this way.
You can't afford to bring them back monetarily, and you can't afford to bring them back competitively.
If they do get past the Jazz, if the Clippers find a way to right the ship a little bit in the postseason and end up beating the Jazz, I honestly would prefer. As a basketball fan, and I don't really at this point I don't really care which team wins. As a basketball fan, I would actually prefer to watch a Clippers Warriors series than a Utah Jazz Warriors series.
As a casual fan, yeah, I would agree. But as ball hog fans that we are, I would love to see that Utah and Golden State match because you want to see that
Utah
defense.
Can beat them. Yeah. Clippers cannot beat the Warriors, and that's a mental thing. It's been years, and they can't do it. But
that's why I want to see it because you see how much the Warriors.
You just want to see the Clippers melt down. That's just what you want to see.
I want to see the Warriors be challenged at every stop for the title and then have no excuses when they win it. It's not, because of Kevin Durant. I want them to be tested each and every time. That's why I want Utah to advance. But, dude, we really got to get Gobert back on the court because that is what is going to be the big one there and just no excuses, And I think without Gobert there, the Clippers have a really good chance of winning the series.
Going back to the Clippers are the first team ever to have 5 or more 50-win seasons without making a conference finals. They're the only team ever to have that done. How much of this is on Doc?
Well, they've had injuries, man. Yeah, I don't want to put it all. I don't like Doc's style. I don't like that coach has so much power and stuff like that. But they have had some brutal injuries come playoff time. So that stat is a little misleading. Yes, the regular season's been good to them, but they've performed poorly come playoff time. A lot of that based on injuries. It's not like, say, the Raptors, which we've seen them perform so well in the regular season, but come playoff time are such garbage. I don't think the Clippers are in that kind of category. Much of it is due to injuries.
Put it this way: when CP3 broke his hand, that to me was like, okay, that's it. The Clippers
forget that season.
It's in the playoffs in the playoffs last year. That really showed that there's a curse that the Clips have. It's unfortunate if you're a Clippers fan, maybe all one person in the world who is a Clippers fan. But that's it. I really have. After that happened, I kind of started believing it. Like, wow, there is such a thing.
Do you think? I have a question for you, and we're spending a lot of time on the series. We got to go, but okay. So you blow up the team if you don't bring these guys back. But if you bring them back, they're at least a playoff team, and they're not a championship team, but they're a playoff team, and that makes them better than the Lakers, and that's important for the Clippers. If you blow this team up, they go back to either sucking as much as the Lakers or worse. Because at least the Lakers have been able to bring assets to some kind of future. If you blow this team up, then they're going to suck more than the Lakers, and then all of a sudden we relive the Clipper history all over again.
Put it this way: if they don't blow it up, it's going to happen sooner or later anyway. Right?
But at least you hold on to Los Angeles a little bit longer.
They don't own Los Angeles. They're the better team as of now. But
this is the only time they have been.
Yeah,
like
but
these past
nobody
few
there,
years.
nobody there cares about the Clips. This is the God honest. This is the God honest truth.
That's you as a Laker fan speaking. And I've spent a great majority of my life in Los Angeles.
Okay,
all I'm saying is this: there is a secondary goal here aside from being a championship team.
And that's to be the team in LA.
And that's to be the better Los Angeles team.
Put it this
Not
way.
to own fine the city, but to be a better team than Kuya, who's been kicking our ass for decades.
Put it this way: if they don't do it, if they end up losing in the first round and they don't blow it up, it's
still better than the Lakers.
They will be better than the Lakers, but it's short term.
And they'll be better than the Lakers for 2 more years.
Yes, and exactly, and 2 more years, and that's it. And then
that's still 2 years.
Then they go back to where they were, and they start
but
from
they'll
ground
be
zero.
making money for 2 years.
Interesting point.
This is a business.
All right.
And remember, I talked about this prior. The championship is not the most important. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. It's not the only important thing. There is a business aspect that has to go through. And if there's nothing you can do with the Clippers to make them a championship team, considering the Western Conference landscape, right?
Yep.
Whether you blow it up or whether you don't blow it up, they're just not going to be equipped because there's young teams coming up that are stacked, and there are teams that are there right now that are well established, and they're established for the future. Golden State, Utah, blah, 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 Houston. So they're stuck in the middle, and at least the middle is not where the Lakers are, which is a bottom feeder. And that's a win.
Well,
I mean, that to me is not a win. It is what it is. For
you just hate the
meantime.
Clippers, brother.
You know, but
but how is that not a win? To be better than the Lakers, how is that not important to them?
Because it's short term.
But it's still real.
Years.
It's still real.
Well,
whether it's short term, it's still better than the Lakers this year, the year after that, the year after that, maybe even the next 3 or 4 years if these guys that the Lakers have are not panning out. You never know. Is what I'm saying, man. And that's a good business move.
You know, if the Clippers manage to beat the Jazz and somehow push the Warriors in the second round, then you keep the players. But if I'm just saying I think it's time to blow it up if they're out in the first round.
All right, so who
they're
wins
not
the series?
They're not going to win a championship.
No, they won't.
They're not.
Man,
who wins the series? And how long?
I'm just gonna say the Jazz because I want the Jazz, but I don't know. Jazz in 6 if Gobert can get back. Jazz in 7 if he doesn't.
I had the same thing.
I'm good with that. I think if there's one game that's gonna reach 7, one series if there's gonna reach 7 games, it's this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
simple.
I think the biggest story as we start with the Eastern Conference here, or at least, we get to the Eastern Conference, is, of course, the Celtics down 0-2 against the 8th-seeded Bulls. I mean, the 1-8 is supposed to be kind of the warm-up, right? But this has become a bit of a alarm if you're a Celtics fan. I mean, this is way past red flag. This is full panic mode now. They lost the first 2 games on their home floor. Let's talk about it a little bit. I've said this on the radio, even on my other podcast, that the 2 things that worried me about the Celtics coming to the series, number one, the Bulls finished the regular season strong. And when you're hot at the end and you're in rhythm and you're clicking in any sport, that's a dangerous team, the team that's hot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't matter what seed you are. If you finish the season strong and you take that and carry it over into the playoffs, you're not an 8 seed.
No,
you're a much higher seed, in that case.
You look... Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the way the talent level that the Bulls have, you can't deny it. I mean, I know it didn't look like it fit for most of the regular season, if not all of it, except for like the last 4 or 5 games. And when Wade came back, I was like, well, how is this going to work? It hasn't worked all year. But the talent level that they have, you could argue that they have possibly the top 2 or maybe even 3 players in that series on one team.
Yeah.
You can almost argue that. And that fact alone, I mean, the Celtics, I mean, of course, Isaiah Thomas is playing with a heavy heart with the death of his sister, but they look a little frazzled.
Yeah.
It's almost like they haven't been here before in this situation. They're number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They're going up against a veteran-laden
it was a bad.
team.
It's just a bad matchup for
It's
the
a bad
Celtics.
matchup,
A really tough one to start off with. Again, aside from the Bulls being hot, And you bringing up some of the better players. They do have the best player on the court. He happens to be a devastating two-way player in Jimmy Butler. But it's the rebounding differential, and this is something I bring up. I brought up even last season with teams that struggled in postseason. If you can't rebound the ball in the playoffs, you are going to have a hard time. The Bulls are the third best rebounding team in the league throughout the regular season, and the Celtics were the fourth worst in all of the NBA. So even playoffs aside, the entire season, the Celtics could not rebound the ball, and the Bulls can at an elite clip. Game number 1, the Bulls out-rebounded the Celtics 53-36. I mean, just that is... Wow. I mean, it's mind-boggling when you think about it. And come playoff time, you can't survive with those kind of numbers. Game 2, which ended a little while ago, as we taped this episode, we saw the Bulls, again, win by 14, and the rebound differential, again, was pretty stark. So if you can't rebound the basketball, and they haven't been able to do it throughout the entire regular season, and they're really having a hard time here in the postseason, the Celtics look like they're going to be a number 1 seed that's going to get knocked out here.
It really does remind me of that Golden State and Dallas one.
Yes and no.
Because
the 1 seed and the 8 seed.
Because Golden State, with Baron Davis that year, was so much better than the number 8 seed. And we were talking about this last week when I asked you guys if you could rearrange the bottom 4 teams, who would be where, and none of us had Chicago at number 8. They are that good of a team, and Mo said it. They got the momentum. Golden State had that as well. But the thing is, the only difference there is Boston and Dallas are 2 different teams. When you look at Boston in this series, you can really see that there is no second option on this team, and that is where Boston is getting so beat. And they're putting Jimmy Butler on Isaiah Thomas, saying, okay, if you can beat us with Jimmy Butler on you, then forget it. We'll see if anybody else can beat us.
And not just that. I think Rondo, the way he's been playing in the first 2 games, it shows you what he really wants this series. He was benched for how long in the regular season, and he came out. He almost had a triple-double. What's his stat line? It's 11, 14, and 9. So, I mean, he's right there. He's going back to his, Rondo days when he kind of could dominate a
Helps
game.
that it's in the TD Garden.
It does help. It's a place that he's very familiar with. But I think also the Bulls have they were always playing. A lot of people always said that the problem with the lineup is that it doesn't match today's game of basketball. Well, you know what? Then they turned things around. They decided, okay, we'll play the old school style of basketball, and that's what they've been doing. It's been working against a team like Boston, who's kind of predictable.
Yeah.
And I think that has become it's become a problem for the Celtics because the Bulls have kind of figured them out. And Mo pointed out the rebounding disparity, and I don't see it being corrected because how can they? How can Boston get back in this by exerting more effort to get more possessions? I just don't see it happening. I think the Bulls are gonna, I guess. I don't know if it's going to be a 4-1, 4-2, but I think the Bulls are going to pull this off.
You think it's not even going to reach 7?
I don't think it's going to reach 7.
You think?
Well, they're already halfway. They're already halfway there. Then they've got games at home too. So, I mean, man, I don't know how much of this is the Celtics and their best player just going through something so tragic and it's taking a toll on his game, or these are just a badly matched up team. If you're the Celtics, in a sense, if there's one team you don't want to face, it's going to be the Bulls because they do something you don't do well. They do it at an elite level, and that's always bad news for you. So I don't know what it is. I mean, we can throw out stats, we can throw out numbers, and then, of course, there's the tragedy and all of that stuff. But the Celtics have their backs against the wall, and I don't think they have it's anymore to recover. Yeah, it's just too deep of a hole.
You can see how much Isaiah is messed up at this. He's an 84% free throw shooter. He shot 7 of 13 from the free throw line today, and those are the moments that you can that there's something else going on in his head with his sister. So Jinno says Chicago in 6.
No, 5. Say 5.
Chicago in 5.
Maybe it might. Yeah, I think 5, dude. I can't see it happening. And at this point, if you're Isaiah Thomas, you're the one guy who can help Boston at least offensively, right? And I mean, imagine what he's going through right now.
It's horrible.
And plus the fact that he has to fly to Chicago for game number 3. They're down 0-2. There has to be a part of him that says, you know what, I gotta grieve. I gotta go visit my family. I gotta do this. And I'm not saying he's gonna do that, but it's probably entered his head. Like this is not working. We're down 0-2. I should be with my family right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's human. I mean, I think most people would have that thought would have crossed their mind right now.
Mo, how long is this going to go?
I mean, maybe Bulls in 6, just because they're halfway there already. I don't really want to count the Celtics out entirely. I think maybe a day off, a flight, to sometimes going on the road where you only have your teammates is a way to recharge, a way to regroup, re-energize, all of those things. Re-inspire yourself. So the Celtics are good enough and they're coached well enough to be able to come back in this series. But because the Bulls are halfway there and they have home court, or at least the next 2 games on the floor, I just think it's too big of a challenge. Bulls in 6.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. They have 2 games. They have 2 days off until their next game, which is going to be in Chicago. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Boston in 7.
It's a great story.
It would be a great story.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's possible.
They are the number 1 seed. Maybe, with the 2 days off, he's going to be able to go to Washington, where his sister is, be there for the burial, and then fly out to Chicago, have that mindset go click in his head, and then just maybe turn it on. The problem is the matchups. They don't have anything that can match up with Nikola Mirotic, and Robin Lopez. Those are the ones that are going to mess them up. But I still think that the storyline will prevail. At the end of the day, the storyline will prevail.
I mean, it's a great story to see if Isaiah Thomas is able to put everything aside and he leads the Bulls to a 7-game. The Celtics to a 7-game first round victory. But again, I think I can't see it happening. As much as I'd love to see that happen for that storyline of Isaiah Thomas, I just don't think it's going to happen.
All right, moving on to our second series in the Eastern Conference. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 2-0 lead in that series against the Indiana Pacers. The big storyline here is that it looks like Cleveland is finally turning it on. You take a look at that great stat line that LeBron had in game number 2, where he put up 25 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 4 blocks. Of course, he did have 8 turnovers. 11 of 20 from the field. He was 50% from the free throw line. But you see Kevin Love as well, plus 17 on his plus-minus. Kyrie Irving with 37 points. They played fantastic basketball. Is this the Cleveland that we were all expecting to see? Or is this just how bad Indiana is?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, Indiana, I thought they would be much better this year with the off-season acquisitions that they did. And then they kind of stunk it up for most of the regular season. They kind of squeezed in, they stumbled into the playoffs a little bit. Paul George had a late surge. But I think Cleveland was resting most of the regular season, especially the last month or a month and a half of the regular season. They're resting. I think they're kind of back. I don't think they're fully back. I think they match up fairly well. They should be able to dominate the Pacers, even them playing at. But I still have a concern for them if they go further down. Specifically, if they make it back to the finals, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers look like they're starting, but maybe this is what they need though. They need to warm up a little bit and find themselves again in the first round, maybe the second round as well. But it's not going to get easier. I mean, after if they get past Indiana, which they should. They're going to be facing teams that are probably going to give them a little bit more of a headache in terms of Milwaukee or Toronto. And I honestly think that the Bucks are going to give them if the Bucks manage to get out of that series, I think the Bucks are going to push Cleveland a little bit further than people realize.
Mo?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say already that, playoff LeBron is here. These are the Cavs finally turning it on, because I want to see it against tougher competition. The Pacers are not that. They're an inferior team. And, while they're up 2-0, we haven't seen massive improvements in the Cavalier defense. The Pacers shot 51% from the field in game 2. Kevin Love had 27 points, as you said, but he had it in 7 shots. That does not happen often.
Yeah.
You don't score 27 on 7 shots. You have to have a fantastic game for that to pull that off. Kyrie had 37. So with Kyrie's performance, with Love's great performance, with LeBron's fantastic performance, they only won by 6, and they only won by 1 in game number 1.
Yep.
So this is inferior competition, and they're getting by. It's still 2-0 though. I want to see them do it against tougher competition, and then we can say, okay, here are the Cavs.
Yeah.
The Cavs that we thought, we would see when the season started. But right now, there are still some red flags there. These guys had fantastic games, and they only won by 6 at home. To a Pacer team that can't keep their head right. Right now. So I don't know.
It's funny to look at my my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed because like all the Cleveland Cavaliers fans are looking at it like, oh, this is it. This is the start of LeBron turning it on. And then all of the Cleveland Cavaliers haters are like, you guys only won by 1. It's just really
against the Pacers.
Against the Pacers.
Against basically Paul George.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you are a Cavs fan, you look at it and say, all right, this is the start of something good. If you are a Cavs hater, you're going to look at it and say, all right, you guys still kind of suck. So with that being said,
if you're an Indiana fan, or if you're Paul George, you got to feel somewhat good about yourself because you're going back to
you wanted
Indiana.
The shot, though.
Oh yeah, I mean he pulled CJ Miles aside and spoke to him about that. But you're going back to Indiana knowing that it's possible for you to win.
Yes.
Right? I mean, they could have won both of those games.
I still think that Paul George is the problem here. I
For
don't
Indiana.
like him. I don't like him saying that he should have taken that last shot. It was his
he
stupid idea to give. No, he shouldn't have
taken that last shot.
Of course not. Well, no, he passed the ball to CJ Miles with 3 seconds left, and he was near the half-court line. What is CJ going to do? Give it back to him for a half-court shot? It was a bad play. He should own up to it. He's not showing great leadership. To even call out Lance Stevenson in the media instead of talking to him, in person is a bad look. I think as well as Paul George has played, I think he's the reason that these guys are going to lose. I don't like where he's at right now, and calling out his teammates saying, dude, he shouldn't have taken the last shot. He passed the ball with 3 seconds left. He should have got himself in a better position. That was his fault. And you know what? He acknowledged it. Even though he talked to CJ Miles on the side, he also acknowledged it the other day that he was wrong. He was wrong. It was a poorly ran play, and that was his call.
I don't think he realized how much time was left on the on the clock.
Well, that's his problem.
So
he cannot mouth off and say, I should be taking the shot when he made the poor decision on that possession that could have won them a game.
But if you listen to what he said in that statement when he was talking about that final possession, I think it's more like he should take the last shot, not necessarily that I guess he's even putting part of the blame on himself as well that he got rid of the ball because I just really don't think he realized the time, and that's definitely his fault. But he's saying it in general when it comes down to a possession
possession
like that.
My point is sure, and I agree with him, and I think we all agree with him but if he calls out CJ Miles as he did. And the play was so poorly ran on his part, I think it's not a good look for the team. And that's my point. Like, you're not going to be able to beat a Cavaliers team when your star player is blaming everybody else for some of his own shortcomings. I just don't think it's a good look.
But that's anyway, because he doesn't want to be there anymore.
So, is this going to be a sweep?
No.
No. 4-1. 4-1. Cleveland.
All right. Well, I have it the same way. 5 games. All right. Moving on into the Toronto-Milwaukee.
That's this matchup again. There's two in the Eastern Conference. Looking at the playoff picture, I remember thinking to myself, this could be fun, right? I mean, Milwaukee at Toronto, who was what. A lot of the regular season they were number 2, and then they dropped down to number 3 with the surge of Boston, and then Milwaukee kind of finding their way again despite Jabari Parker going down, and now the series is tied 1-1, and I think this could be really, really fun, especially because I think Milwaukee is the up-and-coming team. Toronto, despite as good as they look in the regular season, when they get into the playoffs, there's something wrong with them. It's almost like they're the Clippers of the Eastern Conference. That when they get to the postseason, they kind of struggle and they can't really figure things out. That the game is a little bit different in the playoffs. And
I think it's because everyone has figured them out. I mean, you have a one-dimensional offense. You give the ball to Kyle Lowry, you give the ball to DeMar DeRozan, and you let their backcourt do their thing. That's what it has been every year, and that's why they get exploited, because they're predictable. We know what they're going to do. They bring it to the backcourt. So I've never liked the Raptors come postseason play. I've always been tough on them as, kind of like a one-hit wonder, the one hit being, the regular season. They never do very well. But I think this is a different Raptors team now with Ibaka, with Tucker. They're a bit deeper now.
Yeah.
So I think, while I've never liked a Raptors team come postseason, this is the most I've liked them, if that makes sense. This is the best chance I think they have. They've lost the first game of the first round 4 years in a row, so this is not new to them. DeMar DeRozan has said it does take time for them to warm up. If that's true, or if that's an excuse, well, you know what? They've tied the series. They've got a better team than the Bucks. The Bucks are the up and coming, but they're not here yet, especially with the Jabari Parker injury, as I've said many times here in the past couple of weeks. So I think the Raptors are not as predictable as they used to be. And because of that, they're deeper, they're more well-rounded, and they've got a chance to go far come playoff time. They've got a bad matchup with the Bucks, as we all know, because the Bucks are for that. Giannis is crazy, but I really do think they're going to pull this one off.
I agree, and I think that, of course, we've talked about it, like Kyle Lowry being the barometer for the Raptors. But the one thing that Serge Ibaka and PJ Tucker bring to this team that they didn't have before is toughness and a badass on the court. PJ Tucker, we know with what happened with him and Lance Stevenson and how he was with Phoenix, that he is a bad mama jamma. He will, stick his nose in places that it shouldn't be. I want to see him guard Giannis, which he has been, and instead of him guarding Chris Middleton a lot. But he and Serge Ibaka, like you said, Mo, bring a different look to this Toronto team. It's kind of, we used to look at Toronto as this really hot girl that when you got to meet her, like it's like in the playoffs, and then you get to meet her, she's not really, you're like, oh man, this
may kulang. May kulang.
Sayang ka lang. No, but now it looks like, oh, she's read a couple books. Like, she has a little bit of personality now. That is how I look at Toronto in this playoffs, and I have to really enjoy what they are and what they could be in this playoffs with that mental and physical toughness that those two guys bring to the team.
Superficial Raptors.
Does that not make sense?
No, it does. It makes absolute sense. That's probably the best analogy I've ever heard come out from you, because it's true, right? It's. I can't figure out too why the Raptors why the Raptors have kind of, they can't figure it out. Part of it, I guess, is because they're a little bit too predictable. I do love the addition of Serge Ibaka more than Tucker on this team, because I think that Serge, I really think that Serge with OKC last year was the biggest problem for the Warriors last year. Because he was able to switch on a lot of people and guard multiple positions. And I think that becomes extremely beneficial for Toronto against the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Because they're going to need Serge's versatility to be able to guard multiple positions, because we all know that the Milwaukee Bucks are big, they're athletic, they're long, and they're going to need that same, the Raptors are going to need that same look going up against a team like this. So I think Serge is going to be a key factor, and I think it's going to be close, man. I think this could go 7.
Yeah. Well,
no, and you know what? Also, just the additions come. What we've seen in the regular season, the Raptors have, and how they're going to benefit in the postseason is it makes their players who are bench players play off the bench. Sometimes we saw Patrick Patterson in the starting 5. Now that he can come off the bench, they're just a much more efficient, a much more dangerous team with a second unit. You have Corey Joseph there. You've got PJ Tucker. You've got Patrick Patterson. You've got DeLon Wright. And then, guys who don't even play coach's decision, like Norman Powell or Lucas Nogueira, just in case you need them, they're quality bench players. Yes. So now you have a deep Raptors team, not like the team we used to see, which Patrick Patterson is in the starting 5 where he shouldn't be. DeMarre Carroll, Serge Ibaka, Valanciunas, DeRozan, Lowry, that's a formidable first 5. Yeah. and they've got reinforcements coming off the bench this time. No longer, needed those guys in the first 5. So I like the Raptors this year. Finally, I do. And it's good because they've got a great fan base. They've got a rowdy home court. And to see them go deep, I only root for them. It's a great city. I wish the best for the Raptors this year.
So who wins?
Oh, Toronto.
Toronto
and I think the Bucks got their only game.
Really?
If in my opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took another one. I think they only got their one. So with that, I've been doing a lot of 4-1s. I'll still go 4-2 just because to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I say Toronto in 7.
I think this can go 7, and I really...
It's funny. It can go 7. It can be done in 5.
Well, yeah. I mean, but the games are going to be close.
Yeah.
I mean, they won, 6 points today? But I really do like the Bucks. I really do. I think that I think they can pull this off, but I think the Raptors have enough to possibly get this in 7. But I mean, if it goes to 7, it's a coin flip. But I'll go Bucks.
All right. Moving on to our last series. This one is yours, Jinno.
Yes.
Yeah.
Washington Wizards going up against the Atlanta Hawks. The first game was very difficult to watch. It was. I mean, it was ugly basketball. It was so slow. There were so many turnovers. There was. It looked like, and it wasn't exactly because the defense was great, right? I mean, I think the execution was not fantastic until John Wall happened. This for me, at least in game number 1, it's kind of like the John Wall coming out party. In the playoffs, and him kind of taking that next step into becoming a superstar in the NBA. The way he dictated the second half of that game, when he was able to do anything he wanted, get to the rim, find shooters, find people. He was basically doing whatever he wanted in that game, and it tells me that he's ready to take the next step in his career. He was always kind of like the guy who was not quite as good as Curry, as an Irving, as those
Westbrook,
names.
yeah.
Westbrook, even when D Rose was D Rose, he was never that guy. But right now, I think he's ready to take that step.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing worth watching in this series. It's John Wall.
No.
I like Washington. I like this team. They are mean. They are gangster. They are death row records, like Markieff Morris said. This is a team that, if they go up against, number 1, when they play against either Boston or Chicago, man, that is a scary team that could make their way into the conference finals. Mo, what do you think?
I've been watching a lot of Wizards basketball, and I'm not surprised of, I see why you guys say it's the emergence of John Wall and John Wall this and John Wall that. And yeah, he has played fantastic this season. It's been all year, but it's been the entire Wizards team as well. They've got a great team, and everybody stepped up this year. Bradley Beal is on the map.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
He's emerged in a big way. So it's not just Wall. Otto Porter has been
definitely
massive this year. Morris, Gortat, everyone's had a good year. They were able to get a shooter off the bench at Bogdanovich. Kelly Oubre can ball. So, I've watched, again, a lot of Wizards basketball this season because I had both Wall and Beal on my fantasy team. So I was able to kind of watch them intently. And I'm not surprised that they're getting all of this attention. I know playoff basketball brings a lot of eyes, but they've been this all year, man. They've been good all year, and all of them have stepped up, not just Mr. Wall. So I like the Wizards' chances also this season. Again, just kind of like the Raptors, I wish them well. It's going to be an interesting next couple series after this first round, because that's when the big boys start getting there. Cleveland, Raptors, Wizards. If the Celtics get knocked out, the Bulls look good. So those final 4 teams, man, come Eastern Conference, could be really exciting. Come next week, we might even be talking about some of those. So Wizards, I think they're going to take this. I'd be surprised if the Hawks even win 1.
Ooh, wow.
The Wizards are just, I think the Wizards are fantastic.
Yeah, I have it as Wizards in 6. That's a stretch.
That's a little stretch.
Because Dwight Howard ain't nothing.
I say 5 games. The Wizards look good, and right now, I think if there is one team that has impressed me the most, it's actually Washington.
Yeah.
Aside from Chicago, because I mean Chicago still has, you know, the I mean, if you look at them in their prime, if they find, if you know, Rondo and Wade specifically, because we know Butler's still there, but if they were still in their prime, I mean, we wouldn't be discussing how good Chicago looks right now, right? But I think Washington has looked fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, it's the Wizards, I think, that are going to test the Cavs for the Eastern Conference title.
Yeah.
I would say that they would be the one. So we'll see.
All right, moving on now to our final topic for our triple threat, and it is about our Gilas Pilipinas, of course, where we always have one Gilas topic for you guys, and it's about how head coach of the Rain or Shine and Lasso Painters, Caloy Garcia, recently stated his belief that part of the reason for the decline in Raymond Almazan, Rock and Roll's production, is that he's getting a little confused with the Gilas plays and the Rain or Shine plays. Now, my question is that with the national team intensifying their SEABA preparation with daily practices, is this going to be a concern from other clubs? Is this something that the likes of Coach Yeng Giao or Tim Cohn or, you know, Caloy Garcia need to have their eyes on? Jinno, what do you think?
I think anytime your workload multiplies by 2, and you have to go to 2 practices or game then practice, and then you're learning 2 systems, especially for a young guy like Raymond Almazan. It's a little bit of a cause of a concern. I mean, as much as I hate to say that, because you're playing for the national team and this should be a privilege, but it's the truth, and that's why there's certain teams out there that have had issues loaning their players or allowing their players to play for the national team. I mean, that's the reason why. Because you want to avoid injury, you want to avoid fatigue, you want to avoid all these things. I'm not sure if he's really getting confused. Of course, Coach Caloy is the coach, so he would know better, right? Or maybe it's just a way that Coach Caloy is trying to be like, hey, Raymond, come on, man. We need you for this conference.
You need to play, bro.
We need you now. And remember, this is your mother ball club. I mean, and that could be what he was really just trying to get at. But you can't deny that Almazan hasn't really been rock and roll. This conference.
Okay, see, this is my thing. We saw it after Gilas, 2 and 3 and 4 even. Where you feel this now. You feel the pain of him not being there. But after the Gilas effect, man, when these guys come back after SEABA or after the FIBA Asia Cup or after whatever, these guys are going to be so much better. I mean, we saw that with Jeff Chan. We saw that with Ryan Reyes, even when he came back from his recent stint. JC Intal is still feeling that right now. I mean, he is balling out there. But with Raymond Almazan and Junmar, perfect example, Terrence Romeo, when Raymond Almazan and Calvin Abueva especially, those are the 2 guys that I look at, and even Matthew Wright, those 3 guys, when they come back from being on Gilas, those guys are going to be phenomenal. So you take that hit right now. You let them have those 2-a-days, fine. But when they come back, man, you reap all the benefits.
It's really hard to say that to a coach.
Exactly.
Right? But I mean, it's a tough thing that I guess your team, your players have to go through, and it's just that. I mean, they have to go through this. But again, like what you said, I mean, they could be so much better when they come back. I mean, I don't think it's a guarantee. I mean, we've probably seen several guys, especially with the threat of injury to some of these guys. That's a real thing. But
I mean, these are all threats and rumors and theories because again, if we get back to the first question, is the decline of Raymond's production have to do with the multiple practice, the multiple systems, and all of that stuff? Well, that statement is only valid if you see it with other players on the team. Like if the other guys are also declining in production when it comes to their home squad, then yes, there's merit to the statement. But if it's just one guy, if it's just Raymond, then I think they're just looking for excuses.
Yeah, so I don't see any other player. I mean, Calvin is seamlessly worked his way into the system.
He's the beast.
Yeah.
He's a different kind of human being.
He didn't make the team last time.
Well, yeah.
And then now all of a sudden he's the main cog on this team. I mean, if Raymond Almazan is the only person, or Coach Kaloy Garcia is the only coach that has said anything about it, and maybe it's not a special case.
I do applaud Coach Kaloy for saying something, because he's standing up for his team, right? I mean, that's his club, that's his mother. That he's the head coach of that club, and so I can understand what his concern about his star player.
Yeah.
And if for his team to be able to make any noise this conference, they're gonna need Raymond Almazan.
They will.
And if they don't have him, it's gonna be a little bit of a problem for Rain or Shine. But again, at the end of the day, the upside that this guy, who will be facing bigger competition, who will be facing guys who are more athletic, who are going to be facing guys with more skill than him. If he learns how to play against those guys, imagine what he can do in the PBA.
I mean, even if it's just being able to go up against Junmar Fajardo every day in practice.
No.
Even if it's just that alone, he's already going to get better. So, you take the hit now, you reap the benefits in the future. All right, that'll wrap up your triple threat, including your Gilas Pilipinas topic right now. We're going to cut to a break. When we return, it's one-on-one, where we will be having Vince the Prince Hizon here on Ball Hogs. Welcome back, everybody, to Ball Hogs PH. It's now time for one-on-one, where you guys get to call us up and debate with either myself, Jinno, or Mo. And our first caller for today is one of the greatest PBA players of all time. One of my favorite analysts to really work with. And
my teammate for 4 years.
All around really funny dude. We have the Prince himself, Vince Hizon, joining us here on Ball Hogs. How you doing, Coach?
My crush in high school is what it was.
Your crush in high school?
My crush in high school, yeah. Hi, Vince. Nice to have you on the show, man.
Crush. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
He's one of the only Athenians that I'm actually really cool with.
Well, maybe not at the end of this segment. So
Are we going there too? Okay.
Oh no. All right.
I love all your people too.
Thank you.
All your people.
All right, Coach. What is your debate topic for today?
Well, I feel, and I'm not even a fan, but I feel Cleveland's going to take the championship.
Oh. Okay. All right. Before you give before you give any of your debate topics, any of your debate points rather, let's see who agrees and who disagrees. Jinno.
Well,
okay.
If you like,
Jinno, you said that they were going to win the championship when we started. When we started this show.
When we started the show at the beginning of the season, I said the Cavs will go back to back. And then the last month happened, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't think so anymore. Their defense is like one of the worst if not the worst in the league, or in the playoffs.
So will they defend the title?
No.
No?
I mean, not the way they're constructed right now. No, not the way they're playing defense.
Mo.
It's just not. No.
Oh no! I never thought they were going to win the title. Anyway, this season, I didn't think they were going to win the title last season, and it took a historic comeback for them to do it. So I say no. I'm pretty confident they won't win this year.
I will say no as well. So
3 no's.
Coach, you get to pick either your teammate in Jinno, your commentator, the guy that makes you look as good as possible in me,
yeah,
or the guy that had a crush on you in high school in Mo. So you get to decide.
I'm getting scared of that crush thing, but never looked at you the same.
Yeah.
Well, I'm flipping a coin right here.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm going with Aaron.
Okay.
Oh,
God.
Okay. Lovely.
All right.
Vince and I can never go against each other.
You guys can jump in if you want. I don't mind. No problem.
Oh no, we will. All right. So, Coach, you go first. Why do you think the Cavaliers are going to win this year?
Why do I think they're going to win? Well, number one, with Cleveland, it all begins and ends with LBJ, LeBron James, right? And he's been under flack like he always is. But this year especially, he wanted and demanded and complained, even in the media, that he won the playmaker. And the front office went out and got Deron Williams. So for me, that puts all the pressure back on him now. We already know he's an unbelievable player. He keeps claiming himself to be the king. Even though I'm a Laker fan, I got to give props. The guy can ball, obviously. And given the fact that he has other guys around him who can definitely fill it up and are also hungry, that's a very important thing. I think they're balanced enough. They do still have weak points, but I think they're balanced enough and strong enough and healthy enough at this point to pull it out.
Okay.
All right.
Aaron.
Aaron, going from a first win, trying to get this, and this might be the only
You
time
haven't won a debate yet?
No, I because nobody really picks me because I freaking monitor the show, try to moderate everything around here. Nobody really picks me for the debates.
But let's hear it.
Here we go.
No, you can't. You've won one, at least one.
No, you guys have never voted for me. Like you guys shit on everything that I say around here, man.
Are you guys going to debate yourselves?
No.
That's a good point.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. At the start of the season, I thought Cleveland was going to win the championship again this year. And, little by little, as every week went by, and, the more I started to have doubts in it. And at this point, with one game done in the playoffs, and it was 2 games done in the playoffs for Cleveland, they are looking like the Cleveland that was scary. The one team that we thought was going to win that championship at the start of the season, at least for Jinno and I. But the problem is the consistency that they have. The defense, they allow 107.2 points per game. They allowed 111 against Indiana in game number 2. Way too much. And this is against an Indiana team that is not even necessarily a good offensive team. If you're letting players like CJ Miles and Miles Turner and Paul George dictate what they do on the offensive end in the playoffs on game number 2, where you're already supposed to be making adjustments, it shouldn't even be that way. You should be the clampdown defense that you were in that 7-game series and in that entire season last year, in that 7-game series against Golden State. They are, I believe, in the bottom 10 already in the points allowed. And you cannot have that. In terms of their offense, I mean, is Kyrie 100%? Is Kevin Love 100%? Obviously, in that last game, all 3 of them were able to combine. I think it was for 89 points, which is phenomenal. But they just do not have the defense that they should have, and the defense that they had last year that got them there. I mean, if you really look at it, in that finals against Golden State, it was really one defensive stop and one huge shot that got them that championship. Can they get it again this year? I'm not even sure if they can make it out of the... Well, if with Boston maybe on the way out, they will probably just cruise on into the finals. But when they get there, they have to play either Golden State, San Antonio, which is a great team right now with Kawhi being the best player in the world, and then maybe even a Utah, which is a great defense. That is where they're going to have a problem. If they can't stop the ball, and Golden State and San Antonio are playing the way that they are, they're not going to be able to win a championship. There you go.
All right.
Mo,
what are your thoughts here?
Well, again, just off the bat, I already know I disagree with Vince in saying that they're going to win. But
thanks, Mo.
but the argument that you gave
when you agree with me.
but the argument you gave was strong on why you thought they were going to win. But here's my argument against it. But I agree with a lot of your points. LeBron's teams. When I say LeBron's teams that have. He's gone to the finals with, because how many finals has he gone? Has he gone now 6 in a row? Was it 6, right? Those teams have benefited from very weak Eastern conferences year after year. This year, though, it just doesn't feel as weak as it does in the past. And I think it's going to be a tougher road to the championship series by series. You know, it's not the way it used to be with his teams where they kind of just cruise right through. The Eastern Conference is strong. The Wizards are strong. I think the Raptors are strong. You know, the Bulls are playing really hot and all that stuff. So I think it might take a little bit of a toll on him and his squad. And the defense has been extra atrocious this year. We know that they're one of the worst in the NBA this season. They were the second worst post All-Star break. Game 1, the Pacers shot 49% from the field. Game 2, they shot 51% from the field. So it doesn't look like they've improved in the first couple games here of the playoffs. And I think when you match that deficiency on the defensive end against some of these better Eastern Conference teams, and then, oh, wait, the Golden State Warriors, who are better this year than they were last year, it just doesn't equate to a title again for me for the Cavs.
All right.
I think I'm gonna win.
Aaron feels fairly good here. No, but I mean, but
Jinno's got his vote.
No, Vince has. I mean, I was there too before the All-Star break, and I thought Cleveland should be the favorites to win it. Again, just the way they performed, and it looks like they were kind of cruising and resting towards the end of the regular season, and that's why they dropped so many
games. They were doing a San Antonio.
Yeah, an extended San Antonio rest period. But it's so difficult to get that, Vince. I'm sure you know this extremely well. That it's so different once you've taken a break, at least mentally, from the game, even though you're really playing. And to get back into full swing, especially defensively, it's not as easy as it is. I mean, so I still think that they should still come out of the Eastern Conference as good as the Wizards have looked, as good as the Bulls have looked, and at times Toronto. I still think they should be able to get out there, out of the East, but I just don't see them beating San Antonio or Golden State. And if Milwaukee finds a way. Remember, before the regular season was over, we all thought that the Bucks could kind of, because of the matchup problems that they pose with the size, the length, and athleticism that the Bucks have, if they find a way to go up against the Cavs, I think that's going to be the team that gives them the biggest problems because of the matchups, even without Jabari Parker there. So. I mean, it's not a sure thing for me that the Cavs are going to win another title. In fact, I would say it's a big possibility. No.
So are you saying you vote me?
I do like Vince's arguments because it's the same arguments I had as well
at the start of the season.
But it's not the start of the season anymore. So I'm actually going with Aaron.
Yes, I win.
Yes! I love you, Vince.
I'm not even done yet. I thought this was a debate. I didn't.
Okay.
Really...
Counter. Let's go.
Absolutely, go, fire.
Okay.
I could change my vote.
Let's go, Vince.
Right. Let's do this. Okay, first off, Aaron, you said that they allow 102 points, right?
107.
Well, combined Kyrie, LeBron, and K-Love are averaging 82. That means to say the other 9 guys have to score 21 points for them to win. And with guys like Deron Williams, who's shooting 66% from three-point land, Shannon Fry, who can get hot. He's actually shooting, he's like 50%, a la Big Shot Bob, Robert Horry. I mean, you got guys like J.R. Smith. He's healthy again. He's shooting well. I mean, you got guys who can score there, obviously. And don't forget their other pickup who can also fill it up if you give it to him, Kyle Korver, all right? So you put it all together. I think you can get 21 points out of those guys to win those games, all right? That's the first one. As far as Mo said, the East is hard. Well, I just have to say, I think the West right now is a tougher bracket.
It is. I'm comparing this Eastern Conference from Eastern Conference past. The West has always been the tougher one, but I think it's a harder road than in past LeBron teams. Yeah,
well, that's where I have to disagree with you on that. I think Golden State, OKC, they're all going to beat the what out of each other, San Antonio. And by the time they get to the finals, I think they're going to be beat up. I think they're the ones that are going to be beat up. And they're going to have a hard time physically, mentally, because they're going to just throw everything out there. And it's going to be difficult for them. Well, as far as Mo said about everybody being on vacay, I think, maybe they do take a little break. But you got to remember, Mo also said it as well. That was the most amazing comeback last year during the finals against Golden State. I think, if anything, that just gives them more confidence, saying, hey, doesn't matter. We can take a vacay We can come back on anybody. We even came back on those Golden State chumps. So no problem for us. So we can do this. So for them, they get more confidence. And again, I could talk about their strengths as well. Tyronn Lue, I love him as a coach. He's a coach. There's two different kinds of coaches. There's an X and O guy. There's that guy Pringles, and he doesn't know a thing about the players. You got a guy like Tyronn Lue who gets into the players' minds, and he knows how to push those buttons to get them going. And I love that. As a player, that's the kind of coach I would want. For me, I'll give you the weakness. The weakness for me still is their shot blocking and their dominance inside. But as far as I'm concerned, they have enough tools. They have enough weapons. I've talked to a bunch of NBA coaches, and for me, it's always been about that fourth guy. To win, regular season, you need two guys who are really hot. To get into the playoffs and get extended, you need 3. To win a championship, you need 4. Right now, they have the 3. They have Kyrie, LeBron, and K-Love. My question is to step up. Is it going to be Deron Williams, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith? One of these guys has got to step up. If they do, championship.
All right. I will just simply say it. I never really said that there was a problem with Cleveland's offense. I mean, that if this season proves it, if there's anything that this season proves, rather, it's that their offense will be there, and it's always controlled by Kyrie and by LeBron. And when you have those two guys controlling the offense and bringing it to where it's supposed to be, they're going to be fine. But it's the defense and the rebounding where Cleveland will have a problem with. And at the start of the season, we all thought that the defense of Golden State would be the reason, and the lack thereof, with the loss of their big men and, with the Bogut's and the Festus Azelis and, those guys gone, that their defense would be the one that would be in question. With completely out of nowhere, they become a top 5 defense in the league. So Golden State got better defensively. Cleveland just dropped off the face of the earth in terms of their offense, in terms of their defense. Aside from LeBron, I believe it's only Kevin Love that and Tristan Thompson that can really get a rebound. You look at that game against Indiana in game number 1. After the 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds, and 10 rebounds of Tristan Thompson, the next person that had the most number of rebounds, 2, Kyrie Irving. You can't get any rebounds, no second chance points, you're not going to be able to win.
Okay, well, as far as the rebounds goes, again, Tristan Thompson averaging 11 boards on the season. K-Love, 8.5. The one who didn't do his job, I don't think he's really had his full strength yet, is LeBron. He's averaging 8. So right there, you got some pretty good rebounders. Then you throw into the mix. You got guys like Shannon Fry who can mix it up inside. I've said that already. I don't think they're going to have a dominating presence in the paint, but they'll have enough.
All right, they have firepower and others. All right, one last thing, Vince. Just I don't think they have the championship confidence that you think they have. I think LeBron, coming off of a historic title, they were down 3-1. They overcame the greatest regular season team of all time. They should have a little bit more confidence, but all we saw this year was LeBron saying they didn't have enough, bitching about the squad, bitching about the personnel, complaining constantly about his guys. We have Tyronn Lue saying that they're not playing their defensive scheme, so people won't see and get clues about how they're going to run their system. Vince, you are a professional athlete. That is not the behavior of a confident championship team, a guy that says they don't have enough. That sounds like an insecure team, a team that fears maybe the power of Golden State, and that's what I got from this year. And we got it from the beginning, the middle, all the way to the end. They complained way too much for a team that is coming off a championship. So I don't think they're all there mentally. I don't think they're as sound as you may give them credit for when it comes to confidence of a champion. They complain way too much that their team's not strong enough. Why would you do that? You're a championship team. You have better players this year than you had last year, and yet you're still finding a reason to be insecure. That's a red flag for me. But anyway, let's wrap it up. But
I'm gonna wax philosophical on Mo real quick.
Go ahead. Go.
There was a coach who had told us before. He can quote me on this. There is a direct correlation between complacency and death. For the man who feels he has everything in this world is already well on the road to decomposition. Let that marinate for a few seconds with you guys. Every team that is winning definitely has a guy who pushes everybody else. You don't think Kobe said a lot of lovely things to his teammates?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure, but there's a difference between complaining about it.
Said a lot of stuff?
Well, I don't see MJ or Kobe saying it publicly. You know, LeBron came out and said his team wasn't good enough. So saying that they're top heavy, you know, those are things you can say in a locker room.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. Sometimes you got to push their buttons. I mean, how many times did you hear about the problems between Pippen and Jordan, between Shaq and Kobe? You know, you heard about it all the time. You're always going to have these guys pushing each other because both of them feel that they're the best. They should be on the 100% limelight and all of that. So, again, I think it's actually healthy. To have a few disagreements, it helps. It pushes guys to limits they didn't know they had.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you, Vince, for dropping by Ball Hogs, man. I gotta admit that was
Vince has a lot of great
points.
Yeah,
and
that was very meaty.
It's the inside of a player.
All valid.
Yeah, I mean that's the inside of a player, something that all three of us cannot bring to the table. Vince, the Prince,
no,
he's on.
Jinno can. He's my teammate. So Jinno can.
No, he's in there. He gets a participation award. I mean, come on, that's really all Jinno gets.
Oh, come on, be nice.
Vince, thank you for dropping by, man.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks,
Take
Vince.
care, guys.
You have a great one.
Thanks, Crush.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Peace out, Crush.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Oh,
Appreciate
man. And that wraps up the episode, man. That was a heavy, meaty episode today.
Yeah,
well, it's playoff time, so we have a playoff show.
We got a lot. We brought it all to the table today. That'll wrap things up for this edition of Ball Hogs PH. We'll be back again next week. Will we be talking about round 2 for some of them? Probably. For Gino Ruffino, Aaron Atayde, Mo Twister, we're out of here. Bye-bye.